going to pass everything over to you now. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. Well, it's such an honor to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. Um, I I have gone into my garden this morning and picked things for specific purposes because I wanted to show you a little bit about how you can get kind of, in a way, more out of your plants. So for example, let's start with something which in my garden is a vigorous volunteer, shall we say. Now, I love volunteering. I've always volunteered. I met my husband volunteering years ago, so I'm all about volunteering. But this lemon balm is one heck of a volunteer. Now, she grows really quite tall, as you can see. But what I also do at this time of year is that I will take, these are my favorite scissors. They're actually unbelievable. They're really sharp. They go right through anything. But and I will take, for example, a bunch of these different ones off, but I will also take the larger leaves off. And it changes, not only does it give the plant, now I just picked these and it's a warm day here. It was actually warmer than I thought when I went out there. The ideal time to pick flowers from your garden is in the cool of the early morning or in the evening. But anyway, and so you can see how that kind of changes it. Now these are a little bit wimpy and they're just gonna, they need a little more hydration, but that they'll perk up, no problem. But you can see how that kind of changes it if I'd left all of these big leaves on. So it also gives me, if I'm gonna cut down, I'm gonna cut, do you see how this is like a Y? And then there's something coming up the middle, the stem coming up the middle. So here's the Y and here's the stem coming up the middle. I'm going to cut that stem coming up the middle, and that's going to give me, I'm going to take this rest of this off actually. Anything that goes under the water, we shouldn't have any green under the water. So because it will make things go over faster. But you can see how I've gotten that, and then I've gotten this. This has given me a small stem, and I'm going to do that again here. So from one stem, you get all these wonderful shapes. You can see it there. And I'm going to take this top one off, and same kind of thing. Now, if I were making wreaths and stuff in the winter, I'd be doing the same thing with my cedar, for example. So that's one thing. And then I wanted to show you, this is another lovely volunteer. We do adore the volunteers. And so I've gotten this one out of the garden too just now. I'm going to take the big leaves off because it's going to give the plant more of a chance to focus on the flowers instead of the leaves, particularly at this time of year. And again, you can see that I can get one stem, 2, 3, I can get 8 stems off of this one stem. So I forgot your name who said about the chrysanthemums, but chrysanthemums, same kind of thing in the fall. You can get a lot of stems off a chrysanthemum. And what you might want to consider too, if you're buying flowers, or even if you're arranging on your own, is to start with a big bouquet, start with the tall things when they're tall, and then as they sort of start to age out a bit, you can go and get just the pieces that are really doing well, and you can go smaller and smaller. And that's a way to kind of lengthen the bouquet as well. The other thing that I look for when I'm doing flower arranging is that I'm looking for the eye to go someplace. So I don't want to just glance at something, with the exception of this. If you have one kind of flower, these are sweet peas, or these ones are lavender, as you can see, and they're drying. So sometimes it's lovely to have one single kind of flower in an arrangement, and I just popped those in there last night. And it's really as much for the beauty as it is for the scent. Oh, and I have to show you this, is these are talk about specialty flowers. This is called, oh no, this is called, it'll come to me. They're very hard to get. Because they don't produce a lot of seed, and they're the it flower of sweet peas at the moment. Oh gosh, that's terrible. It's just, it'll come right back to me. But anyway, so you might have one kind of flower, and that is absolutely beautiful, and they look lovely to have one type all down the center. But if you're looking for your eye to have somewhere to go, you're looking for something that would maybe give you some movement. Now this is a jasmine, and I'm just getting it for the foliage. So I'll take this one out. So we've got some of the flowers at the end there. I grow it because my mom grew jasmine outside of our bedroom when I was growing up, and I still have that lovely memory of opening my bedroom window, and this is what I smelled. So this is what I grew outside my girl's window for the same reason. But it also has a kind of an airiness to it as well. So that's one thing. The other thing is you can play with scale. So you can get these big lady's mantle leaves. These are the leaves from, this is lady's mantle here. So that's another thing. And shapes. So just reach this. Feels a little jungly in here. And Kathy, when you had said about taking a breath in and imagining the scent, that was super easy to imagine in here right now. It was really great. Didn't have to imagine it. It smells really good. So you might want to have some things that have some shape this way, some of that height. You can get that from these crocosmia, the same flower, different. So the person in, is it Michigan? No. You could, I don't know if everybody's off there, but you're welcome to say anything. But anyway, so same plant, different of that beautiful sort of fiery color. And then there are things to look for that you might not have otherwise. This is why I'm here, just to kind of, you probably know all this stuff, but it helps to kind of see it again for the first time. And these ones, you don't think of as something that you would put in a bouquet, but they're strawberry leaves. They have a nice stiff stem. It's pretty long, as you can see. And this one started to change color. And in the fall, I've used these a lot because they have all of these beautiful colors, and they tie in nicely to, for example, this dahlia. They just can tie in nicely with those colors. Speaking of dahlias, this dahlia is, she was the first, and she's really heavy, like very top heavy. When a dahlia blooms, it will only bloom, you pick it, when you pick it, that's exactly what you're gonna get. It's not gonna change. But this dahlia, I had left it on here because I knew I was doing this, so I wanted to show you, it starts coming back to itself on the other side. And then eventually, and yes, oh, not even eventually, right now, it's gonna start dropping all of its petals at the back, and this is certainly finished. Now, I wouldn't actually put that in a bouquet, but here's one that's a little, not as far along. And again, that's sort of a ball shape. That's kind of another shape to kind of think of as you're arranging. And then the other thing that I like to arrange for is scent. And so, of course, the sweet peas have a lovely scent. I have this carnation that I started from seed a few years ago. It has a lovely scent. This is the last of these. And I wanted to, this leads me to seed pods, because you can see this one is starting to go over. Now, it still has a scent, so I'm still going to use it. And it still has that beautiful white. But this is what it looks like on another part of the plant when it is just the seed pod. So you can see that you can get from one plant, there's lots of different stages that the plant is in. And speaking of different stages that a plant is in, these hypernicum berries, they're lovely. Started those from seed a few years ago. Now I want to show you this. So sweet peas, you can take from the top and then they'll continue to grow further down the plant. But what I love about this is same thing. I can cut this and get a few different kind of angles and the curlicues and the, you know, it's different stages of the plant. So this one at the bottom is starting to sort of finish. This one is kind of right in there, midlife, doing well, great. Lots of bloom on there. And then this one will bloom. So if you're doing something in, did I put it here or I left it in the kitchen? I can see it. I left it in the kitchen. I have flower frog in a little pot. And this is kind of nice if you're using a flower frog. And actually, I'll just run and get it because I can see it right here. And I think it might be a helpful thing. In the video that I did last 2 weeks ago, actually, I talk about different kind of flower frogs, and you can go to that on my YouTube. And so this is part of a flower frog. You can see that. And then this is another kind, and I've mixed it together. There we go. And if I were doing something, see, and I've got this little pot, I collect all these different kinds of things. I got this on a trip in Denmark. And something like this does really well in here. You can see that already it has some structure, and I haven't had to really do much to get that. So that's another thing.
Can I ask a question?
You bet, yes.
So you put the metal one at the bottom, and so the stem is sticking in the metal frog, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now, for the one that I thought we would play with today, I'm using just a regular, and we talked about it earlier, it's the same size as a mason jar. And what I've done is I've created a little grid with tape. Oh, I just realized I can't, I can't turn it or I will pour the water all over the table. I can't turn it to show you. There we go. So I've put a little grid with some tape. I'm going to add one more piece across. And there we go. And you won't see this tape at the end. Tape comes in different widths, so if you had this, or you can get floral tape, of course, just has to be dry on either side. And when I've done the petal potluck for folks, they've come back the next year and said, oh, I remember that tape thing. I use that always now. So what I would suggest is, if you are interested in getting your friends together and you're wanting to do a petal potluck, that one of the things, you don't have to share all of these different things, but you might want to. You might want to say, you know, bring some, like if somebody has a lot of seed pods, you know, bring those. If somebody has things at different stages, to bring those because they're interesting. And here's some oregano, minus the bunny tail, oregano. I have that actually comes in a purple. There we go. In a purple and a white. And I've been growing these bunny tails. I just love them. So you can see that I've tried to have different shapes, have different things at different times of the year or times in their development and wherever they're at. Was there anything else that I have forgotten to show you? Oh yes, good. So this is a scabiosa. Comes in different colors. I love scabiosa. I started growing it just only a few years ago, really. And then it actually, like a lot of these things, once the petals fall off on their own, or I'm taking them off now to show you, you get this other like interesting shape. Like it's something else that's interesting and something that your eye is kind of, it's the interplay of all of the different pieces of the scent, the texture, you know, even from something as simple as like a common mint that you might have, or any of these kind of things. Oh yeah, this one I started growing for the first time this year. I did my daughter's wedding flowers last year, and in Nova Scotia. And so I got to play with somebody else's flowers, which was really fun. And these Canterbury bells, they just last and last and last. And beautiful stiff stem. I have grown them in this pink and in white. So that's kind of it. And if you're doing something with friends, I would suggest it's all about the having fun. It's all about the no judgment. It's all about just being present in whatever works. So the person who said, oh, I have too many flowers, and I said, no, that's impossible. Well, part of it was a joke, but part of it isn't. Because it's nice when you're creating something, just like if you have different color paints in front of you or different color fabrics, if you're doing a fabric exercise or whatever it is, it's nice to have choice kind of to respond to as you start. So if you want to, and you want to get your vase set up, I don't add anything to the vase. I mean, I don't add anything to the water. The water, I always say, is clean enough to drink. Would I want to drink out of a flower vase? Not really, but you get the idea. And then there's enough water and I fill it up, and I will do that afterwards at the sink. So I've done that. I've put my little grid on, and then I'm just going to start kind of popping a few things in. And if you were doing like a specific flower course by the, it's sort of 2.5 times 2.5 times. So you can go out a lot. And that's part of what any kind of grid or flower frog helps you do. And certain vases kind of do that a little bit better than others. This is a great shape because, I'll use this nice long stem to show you, because you see how this can be in the water, but it's held out here. And so I can start arranging something like this with really long stems. And you can see that I haven't put any tape. I don't have a flower frog in there. But because I have the long stiff stems, I'm going to start going back and forth like this. And what it does, I've not taken the green off that one, but what it does is it starts to create a grid system. Can you see that? Yeah. No, let's see. It starts to create a grid system here. And as I'm finishing up my bouquet, that enables me to have something in the middle and it'll just hold. Now this isn't holding because there's not enough in there yet, but it will. And it'll hold stuff this way so you can kind of have this lovely, it's nice for flowers to have their own, I'm going to say their own space so that you can kind of enjoy each of them. So that's a nice shape, and it does allow you to go out quite far. But this grid system also helps you to do that. So if you want to start, please do. And as we go, just start to notice, the different shapes in the stems. When you're cutting your stem, take this out because she's such a nice straight one. If I'm cutting and I'm going to be putting it in a flower frog, so like skewering it on top of the thing there, I'm cutting directly across. If I'm going to put it just in a vase like this, no flower frog, I'm cutting it on its side like this, because it's like if you have like a, let's call it chocolate milkshake, and you've got your thick straw. You don't want the straw to go to the bottom, and then as you're trying to suck up the goodness there, the chocolate, it won't come because it's right on the bottom. That's what's happening to that stem. If you're cutting it flat and putting it right in, it just goes right to the bottom, and then it can't drink anything. So that's why. And certain ones, I mean, too much detail, but certain stems prefer, like if I looked at some poppies this morning and I thought, no, I think it's too much. But the poppies, you want to pick them at just the right time, and then you tuck them in water that you have just boiled. I use a little thermos that my kids used to have for soup for lunches, like so many years ago, and I hold it on an angle like this. So if I'm holding it into the water, the steam is not coming up and getting to the flower, for 7 to 14 seconds, and then directly into cold water. And then I don't cut that stem again. And that's how you keep some flowers. So for example, poppies. But I thought, oh no, that's just too much. So let's not do that. So I'm just going to start to do this and kind of thinking of responding to what's in there. The other thing to do is think about where you're going to be using this. So is this going to be a center of a table, so you want it to be seen all the way around? Is this going to be seen at this height? Like if I were to, so we are currently at my dining room table, which I've moved into the living room. So if I make it really tall like this, not going to be able to see my friend on the other side of the table. So I want to make it shorter for that reason. So just like in communications where they always say, well, who's the audience? That's kind of like, where is this vase going to go? Where's this arrangement going to go? And the other thing too is you might want to think about different kinds of vessels. So here's a little one that I got at a garage sale years ago, the little lid. Yes, you could polish it. This one, I did a petal potluck here, and one of the people brought this, and when we drew the name, I was the one to get this, and it's a lovely old-fashioned one, very nice and heavy, and it does kind of have that nice shape, so it's easy to put stuff in. And then this one I wanted to show you just because, sometimes it just takes. So this one I bought at a local place. It's got a flower frog of sorts, different kind, in the bottom, which you can take out. So there we go. And then it's got these candles. And I've actually haven't played with it have I ever made anything of it? I don't know, but I thought I'd bring it just to show you, like there's all kinds of things that you can use. Jugs. I saw this jug in a place. I talked about it on a video last year. I love jugs. And then there's some that are just sort of, this one I bought when I was away on holiday in Denmark, but it's actually a French glass, very practical to travel with. But anyway, but I loved the color, and I loved how it kind of holds those flowers. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can use, and that really makes it interesting. You can stay with the same kind of color way if you like to, if that's what you'd like to do, or you can mix it up completely and sort of see where things take you. It is nice when you're looking at, see, this is almost finished. When you're looking at some of the flowers that you're making, that they have a relationship to one another. You can see that these Hypernicum berries and this dahlia sort of have a relationship to one another. And the pink in here that works with that kind of pink. And then you'll start, as you get into this, if you aren't already, you'll start to see how different pinks are quite different. And sometimes you want them all together and sometimes you might not. So for example, in this Snapdragon that I just picked, it has kind of both of those kind of colors in. So that is that works, right? And again, I'm taking all of the green off from the bottom. I think I will put everything in here, and we'll get some shape this way. Now, does anybody have any questions? Because if I can answer them, I'd love to. I can't actually see you. Let's see if I...
Lisa, may I ask you?
Yeah, let's see if I can just change this so I can see. It says this is being recorded, and I just say, yes, I understand that. And then maybe I'll see. There. Okay, now I can see people. Great. Otherwise,
so Lisa, could I ask you a question, dear? So I wanted to make something that's quite low, like it's actually a little, something low in the table. Would I start with the bigger flowers? Or would I start and add those once I've got some crisscross things in there, do you think? I put the little tape on.
Yep. You could do it either way. You could do it either way. If you're wanting to feature, like it looks at that rose that is just beautiful, and you know that people are going to be sitting looking at it this way, you might want to have that just as you showed me there, kind of on the side of the, kind of on the side.
Okay.
And then it's lovely if you have, so here's one that would be, bigger thing, but something like that. So you're kind of coming, let me just cut this.
Because I don't have a frog in it, so it's falling
No,
over.
that's fine.
That's why I was wondering if...
That's fine. And see, I've just cut it shorter, and now I'm not going to see the edge. Now, it doesn't actually matter if you see the edge. What you generally want to do is, whether you have a frog or you have tape or whatever you have, or maybe you don't have anything, a lot of people, you know, in the certainly professionally, you want to have it so you're not seeing the edge. But quite honestly, that's such a beautiful edge that if somebody saw that, it's totally fine with me. But if you have something, some structure that you're wanting to hide, tape, whatever, there's certain things, that's where the strawberry leaves come in really well. This lady's mantle leaf, the big one, you can really tuck that in. You can also tuck it in at the end. Just see, play with it and see kind of what is working for that bouquet. Yeah. Any other questions? I think it's nice to, you can do it two ways, but you can also, they sort of call it in the flower business, they call it greening it up. So you can put all your greens in and kind of have that be the structure first, and then put your flowers in. It just depends what you would like. Oh yes, and I was going to show you this with the honeysuckle. Here's a good example. Is this a better example? Yeah, maybe. So this honeysuckle I just cut this morning, and how lovely that it has rather large-ish leaves coming out of the side. So if I'm wanting to hide something, I cut that a little bit shorter, and then I've already got that built-in green for the edge. And I don't have to add anything, or you can see that that kind of already is covering anything up there. And you know, something that I always say, but I really want to emphasize, is this is about having fun. You know, your body doesn't care what you make. Your body cares that you make. And certainly if you're planning on, you know, having friends getting together, you know, at your kitchen table or on your balcony or in your garden or whatever, that's actually the important part. And something that I would emphasize too with friends is that, you know, anytime you're doing something creative, you're putting a little bit of yourself out there. And so because of that, you want to be in the part of your brain which is not in fight or flight, which is not in thinking about that I'm under attack, that it's not. And that's why it's so important to do what Kathy's doing here, is a gentle approach, because it allows us to be in the part of our brain that is creative and asks what if, and let's see, and you know, I don't know, will this work? Let's see, let's try it. It's a flower, you can pull it out, and you know, in a week or so, or depends, maybe a little bit more with some of them, it's not going to be here anymore. So there's really, what I'm trying to say here is that there's very little to lose. In fact, there's nothing to lose. And anything that you try and it doesn't work, great, just take it out. Or if you have put a lot of things, like sometimes when I have an awful lot of things in an arrangement like this, if there's something that is really, really not working, maybe this is too tall. Maybe I see, oh, this is too tall. I'll cut this off, but I'll leave everything else in. So you can, just like a wreath that you're making at Christmas with materials, you can cut it into a shape a little bit rounder if you want to. Like there's lots of ways to kind of play with it after you've got it in the vase. But I really do want to emphasize that is that this is about having fun. And you know, flowers, they are just beautiful as they are. They're not trying to be anything. They're not doing anything, especially you know, it's like I was at the grocery store the other day, and it's a little baby, and everybody was, you know, smiling to the baby and so on. And this little one brought so much joy into the grocery store for everybody. And the baby wasn't doing anything. The baby was just simply being a baby. And I think of that with flowers too, is they're not doing anything particular. They're just completely being themselves. And that's it. And there's no way to go wrong with that. So that's something that I would say as well. Anybody else have any questions? The other thing too is oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't have a question, but now you got me looking around my yard. Like, I have some strawberry leaves, and I just cut some peony leaves because there's no more flowers where I am, but the leaves are great and green, so I cut some of those to put in here, and I've never even considered that, so thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad. You know, my peony leaves, if I haven't used them now, I leave them because in the fall, and for here, late summer, fall, but quite late into fall, I get the best colors in those. And because they're a nice tall stem, well, it depends on how you cut it, but nice big leaves, they can support some of these bigger dahlias that I find that I get in the fall months, is some of the bigger flowers, bigger flower heads. Oh, I'm so glad. That's great. I wondered if you had, I thought if you have those lilies, maybe you do have other things. I did think that when I saw you.
I'm gonna agree with Nance. Like, I would never have thought of using strawberry leaves or lady's mantle. That's amazing. Like, just to think there are all those, because I really have no greens in my bouquet. It's just flowers, right? Yeah. And so it really opens us up to the possibilities.
Oh, good. Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad about that. Yeah, I think that, oh, there was something else that I picked this morning that I wanted. Oh yeah, you'll get a kick out of this. Oh, here we go, the longer one. So I have in the past grown lots of vegetables and stuff, but I don't really grow vegetables much anymore. But I thought, oh, my husband really loves radishes. And I like them when they're fresh, but I don't, otherwise they're too strong for me. Anyway, so with that introduction, you will know that that is a radish that has gone to seed. But what I love about it, and now I've just left them because it's like, okay, you're going to be in my bouquets. They're well past producing a radish. But what I love about it is a delicate flower. So you're playing with the larger flowers, the smaller flowers, but also isn't that a beautiful shape? And so that's one of the things that I look for. And I think in our gardens, and depending on where we live, if there's somewhere we can go for a walk, you know, in the forest or something like that, where there, you know, different seasons, there might be something to pick there. Depends on where you are. That's what I'm looking for too, is something where there is just, this isn't finished, but you can see that there's movement. You can see that there's somewhere for the eye to go. It's not going to just be, when I look at it, go, oh, I know what that is. That's not so interesting. And I often think that, that this is what we're looking at, you know, maybe at a dinner table or whatever. And I was saying this in that video that I did the other day of you know, sometimes at these different really important world talks on whatever, there's like a bouquet of flowers in the middle. And I think, isn't that kind of interesting that all of those people who are having really difficult conversations with a lot riding on them, the thing that's in front of them is something to maybe ground them in some kind of beauty, even at a subconscious level. And, you know, we put these in front of our families too. If we have a difficult conversation, Thanksgiving or who knows, when families get together, sometimes you can have difficult conversations or not, or whatever, or if, you know, if you've had a loss or something, then there's things going on. But then having that moment to just be with the flowers, even at a subconscious level. I feel like they have this other kind of role to play, you know, leaning into beauty. It's really powerful, I think, and it has been for me as well to lean into beauty. There are all kinds of different shapes too, like these crocosmia leaves. If you have crocosmia growing in your garden, you can also harvest those in the winter. And I've done different kinds of things with like dried wreaths with these. You can weave them together, like they're actually super strong. But in something like this, they provide one line, you know, something that's just kind of interesting that you might not get somewhere else. And I was just saying before we started the call, or just as we were starting, that this painting behind me, I did last week. I've never done something like this before. And it's all about being in the present moment. Like it's abstract, so it's not about a thing. But it's kind of, the notion was that you make something where your eye doesn't go, your eye doesn't go to one place. So you're supposed to have it so that I'll move this, so that your eye is going different places and this is only actually 2 colors of paint, but of course as they mix they come up with some of those greens. But it was a kind of blue and a kind of yellow, and its flower arranging is that as well. If this kind of flower arranging is that you're trying to provide something where it's of interest, you know, something that somebody thinks, oh, I haven't seen that before, or oh, I hadn't thought of that, or whatever, or that's beautiful, or it's not beautiful, I don't like those 2 colors together, but it's just something that is I guess unique and different and original. And what I'm noticing, even as we're speaking at a distance here, that I can feel that I'm just happy when I have my hands making something and making the choices of, do I put this scabiosa in or don't I? Do I do this or don't I? And those kind of decisions, fantastic decisions to be making. But that is what also brings you into the present moment. And it could be the scent of sweet peas. It could be the act of being creative and putting things together and saying, oh, what about this? What about this? And really just having fun with it. Because at the end of the day, this is a lovely reminder of, you know, leaning into this beauty, because it's really, it's all impermanent. And as the whole thing around here is in life. And that's okay. Like, we can enjoy it while it's here, and we can see it for what it is while it's here, and then it will go. And that's why I often like to photograph my flowers afterwards, just because I you know, you kind of, I don't know if you would say fall in love with stuff, but you're like, oh, I really love that, and you know it won't bloom again till next year. So I have painted, a few years ago I painted my front door black, and when I opened the door, and I've actually on Facebook Marketplace gotten myself a standing, like a stool, and so I cover it in black cloth, put it on there, and then I take a picture of it with my phone, either in portrait or whatever. And by the way, if you don't know, when you are taking something like this, you can tap on whatever, say you wanted to have this be the focal thing in your piece. Move this. So I would, on my phone, tap on here, and you'll see it comes up in a little square. And on the side, you can go up and down with your finger. Up is more light. Down takes away a lot of the light. And if you go down and just experiment with that, you can see how this comes alive, and actually all of the flowers, especially on a black background, will come alive. They're not competing with anything behind them. And you kind of get a different sense of them, and it's actually it's beautiful. They're because then you can kind of see more of the shapes and see more of them, and it's just kind of a nice thing to have. Maybe it's your phone background, maybe it's something in winter that you want to remember because you're ordering seeds or whatever it is. But yeah, that would be a thing that, and actually I guess it shows that I wasn't too oriented on this because I had left a piece of Scotch tape on the door, like just, I don't know why it was there. And then I just painted over it because like, who cares? I'd forgotten all about it. And then I start taking pictures of the front of the door. And now you can definitely see there's a piece of Scotch tape that's been, so, but there is, if you happen to be making cards as I have done and stickers as I have done, there is a way, if you're lucky and you have a daughter like mine, who can just kind of change in Photoshop, change the background so that she can take out that little that little time that I didn't take the tape off the door, so it doesn't interfere in here. Otherwise, it's the first thing you see. But anyway, so I don't know what time we're at, but do you have any other questions? Because
we have about 10 minutes left. And I hoped that you could just talk. I know you've got a handout that's going to be available for everyone about the petal potluck, but could you just go through it with us? Like, could you tell us about it?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, a few years ago, I had an idea. I was thinking about how much fun it is to get groups together, and especially friends who maybe don't know each other. And so I had this idea of the petal potluck, which is kind of how it sounds, is that everybody, I have in the resource, the free resources that I'm giving you, is an invitation. So the wording is all there. I wanted it to be as simple and straightforward so you didn't have to even think about it and just get on with having the fun of it. But basically what it is you're bringing your friends together, whether it's on the balcony in the apartment or kitchen table or outside or whatever it is, and ahead of time, and you've invited them to bring some flowers, some greens, some seed pods, something, and you've told them ahead of time that at the party there will be a draw of a name, and I can tell you more about that in a sec, and so they will not leave with the same bouquet that they've made. So they're to bring some kind of vase that they never want to see again. So my friend Karen brought this one, and they know that it will go to somebody else, and then they will also receive something that somebody else made for them. And I really feel like there's something about making flowers for somebody, even if you don't know who it is, and there's also something about receiving flowers. And I felt like, oh, this kind of captures both of that. And so in my case, we've had a dinner or whatever as well, and maybe it's a birthday or whatever. And then we all do our flower arranging to start. We draw the names, and the way I do it with the names is I have an envelope with each person's name, and then I've just randomly put names in. I've made sure they're not the same name as on the envelope, and put them in, and then I hand them out at the end when people have already made their bouquets. And I make sure that I have water, extra water, jugs of water, so it's all set. And I have these are my favorites, but I have like the $11, $9 ones that you get at Canadian Tire. I use them too. So the ones with the little red, they have to be a flower snip, not scissors, because otherwise you're pinching the stem together and then won't get water. So you do need to have something sharp. But anyway, and then so we do that, and then everybody has given and received their flower bouquet, and they love that. Like, it's really fun. And then we have them down the center of the table, and we have our dinner. And then I have put in this resource as well a list of suggestion questions, because when people don't necessarily know each other, they don't really know what to talk about. And sometimes I find, I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in like oh yeah, so there were deer in my garden too. Oh, like, okay, that's maybe a few minutes, but let's have more. let's go deeper. Let's have a real conversation. And so I've put some questions in there, and things like, what's your favorite thing to make? So one of my friends, we'd gone around, and she makes tons of stuff. Like, she sews, she knits, she does all kinds of stuff with her grandchildren. She's like a real maker. Like, she's really, and she was a middle school teacher, taught sewing and math and all the things. Anyway, and so when it got to her turn, I thought to myself, well, I know her, but the other people around the table don't know her. And so when it was your favorite thing to make, I wonder what she's going to say. And what she said was, my favorite thing to make is my grandchildren laugh. And I was just like, that's the kind of conversation that I want to have. Anyway, so that is that portion of it. And then everybody goes with their bouquet, and it's just a lovely way to get people together in a very, well, I make sure that I do it in a way that is non-judgmental. It is not about a competition. And for me, it's very important that it's not about a competition, because again, we want to be in the part of the brain which is relaxed enough to be creative, which is able to focus on what about this kind of thing, what about this kind of thing, and be in that sort of flow state ideally. But like, you know, whether you have music on or there's lots of people around, maybe you're not in your flow state, but you're still in that thing of like the what if, you're just present. And it's about being present. And I really think that certainly with all of the things going on in the world, and even if the world wasn't as complicated as it is now, it still, to me, has always been that the greatest thing that you can give somebody as a gift is your presence and your focus and your time together. And so the flowers kind of help to do that in a gathering. People don't have to just open up to people they don't know, or they don't have to open up at all, or maybe it's not a good day. I had a friend who had just that day moved her mom into a long-term care situation, and it was very emotional, but she really wanted to be there. That was not the day she was going to talk about anything other than the flowers. That's totally fine. The fact that she showed up and she really wanted to be there, it wasn't just like she was being nice or anything, because that's not my friend. She will say that was helpful for her. That's the part that was really helpful. So she didn't contribute in the conversation in a big ways the way the others did, because that wasn't her day for that. But it's all okay. In fact, it's all welcome. It's all good. And yeah, so that's essentially, that's the Petal Potluck. So I would love if you end up doing it yourself. I would love to know about it. So as Kathy had mentioned, I'm on Instagram, and or you all on my stuff. There's my email, so you could always write and send a card, or not a card, a picture. I love visual stuff, so if you had a picture, I'd love to know about it, or just a few words if it was helpful. I would love to know, or if you have some suggestion, that'd be great.